The day Earth was mocked began in the largest chamber of the Galactic Council, a place where hundreds of alien species gathered to judge new civilizations. The chamber was enormous, shaped like a glowing circle in deep space, floating above a blue star. Tall seats formed a ring around the center platform. Each seat held a representative of a powerful alien race. Their bodies were different in every way. Some had glowing skin, some had long insect arms, and some were made partly of metal. In the center of the chamber, a giant hologram slowly appeared. It showed a small blue planet spinning quietly in the darkness of space. Earth. Today the Council had gathered to discuss whether humanity was ready to join the galactic community. A tall alien with silver eyes stood up from his seat. He was the Speaker of the Council, one of the oldest leaders in the galaxy. "Begin the analysis of the human civilization," he ordered calmly. The hologram changed. Images of human cities appeared, rockets launching into space, airplanes flying in the sky, satellites orbiting the planet. For a few seconds the chamber was silent. Then the first laugh echoed through the room. One alien with long arms leaned forward and spoke with clear amusement. "They still use chemical rockets," he said. Another alien joined the laughter. "Explosions to leave their planet. Primitive." More council members began whispering and laughing. Screens continued to display human technology, tanks, fighter jets, space stations, and early exploration ships. To the powerful civilizations of the galaxy, it all looked outdated and simple. One reptilian warlord slammed his clawed hand on the table. "This species is barely advanced," he growled. "They are centuries behind even the weakest members of this council." The chamber filled with agreement. Some aliens shook their heads in disappointment. Others laughed openly at the idea that humans believed they were ready to join the galaxy. Finally, the council speaker raised his hand, and the room slowly became quiet again. "The conclusion appears obvious," he said. "Earth is a primitive world. Its technology is inefficient and outdated. This civilization is not prepared for galactic responsibility." Several members nodded in agreement. One of them spoke loudly. "Earth may be nothing more than a failed prototype of intelligent life." More laughter spread across the chamber. But suddenly a warning signal flashed across the holographic screens. The laughter stopped. A new image appeared in the center of the chamber. A small human spacecraft had just entered the Council's protected space. The ship looked simple, almost old. Its metal surface was plain, and its engines were small compared to the massive alien warships surrounding the Council station. For a moment the chamber was silent. Then the laughter returned, even louder than before. "Is this their best ship?" one alien joked. "Did they send a museum piece?" another asked mockingly. But while the aliens laughed, the Council sensors began scanning the human vessel. Seconds passed. Then the scanners produced strange readings. Energy levels were rising inside the ship. Higher, higher, higher than the systems could measure. Suddenly several defense satellites around the Council station stopped responding. Control panels flickered. Warning lights began flashing across the chamber. The alien technicians quickly checked their instruments, confusion spreading across their faces. "This cannot be correct," one technician whispered. The Council speaker leaned forward, his silver eyes narrowing as he watched the human ship on the hologram. The small vessel was still floating quietly in space, doing nothing. But the energy readings kept climbing, far beyond anything the Council had ever seen. One of the older Council members slowly stood from his seat, fear growing in his voice. "What exactly," he said carefully, "did the humans just activate?" Inside the great chamber of the Galactic Council, the laughter had completely disappeared. Only moments earlier the aliens had mocked Earth and its primitive machines, but now the room was silent and tense. All eyes were fixed on the hologram of the small human spacecraft floating near the Council station. The ship still looked simple and outdated. Its metal body had no glowing weapons and no large engines. It looked like a machine from an earlier age of space travel. But the sensors were telling a very different story. Energy levels from the ship continued rising beyond the limits of the Council scanners. The numbers on the screens kept climbing until the systems could no longer measure them. Technicians across the chamber began speaking quickly to each other, trying to understand the readings. "This is impossible," one alien scientist said nervously. "Our scanners cannot identify the power source," another replied. The Council speaker leaned forward, watching carefully, His silver eyes were no longer calm. "Open communication with the human vessel," he ordered. A signal was sent immediately. For a few seconds nothing happened. Then a calm human voice filled the entire chamber. "This is Ambassador Daniel Reyes of Earth. Greetings to the Galactic Council." The aliens looked at each other with surprise. The humans sounded completely relaxed, as if nothing unusual was happening. The council speaker responded carefully. "Human Ambassador, you have entered restricted council space without permission. Explain your presence immediately." There was a short pause before the human answered. "We only wish to observe the meeting," Reyes said politely. "After all, it is not every day that an entire galaxy discusses whether your species is a failed experiment." A few council members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The human had clearly heard their earlier comments. The reptilian warlord growled loudly. "You dare spy on the Galactic Council with that primitive ship?" Again the human voice remained calm. "This ship may appear primitive to you," Reyes replied, "but humans learned long ago that appearance can be misleading." The council technicians suddenly shouted another warning. "Energy levels are still increasing," one of them said with panic. The council speaker quickly raised his hand for silence. "Human Ambassador," he said slowly, "our sensors cannot identify your technology. What kind of power system is your vessel using?" For a moment the chamber waited for the answer. Then Reyes spoke again. "For centuries humans believed we were alone in the universe," he explained. "But many years ago our scientists detected signals coming from deep space, signals that did not belong to Earth." The council members exchanged worried looks. "We did not know who you were," Reyes continued, "so humanity made a simple decision. We would listen, we would learn, and we would prepare." The hologram in the chamber suddenly changed. New images appeared, showing secret human laboratories, hidden satellites, and strange new machines being built deep underground. "While the galaxy ignored us," Reyes said calmly, "human scientists studied every signal we could detect. We learned from your communications, your technology patterns, even your energy systems." Shock spread across the council chamber. "You mean," one alien scientist whispered, "you have been studying us for years." "Not years," Reyes corrected gently, "for more than a century." The reptilian warlord stood up angrily. "Impossible. Your technology is centuries behind ours." Reyes gave a small laugh. "That is what we wanted you to believe," he said. At that exact moment the council station lights flickered again. Several defense satellites around the station suddenly shut down completely. Control panels across the chamber began displaying warning messages. System errors were spreading through the council network. The alien technicians stared at their screens in horror. "Our systems are being overridden," one of them said quietly. The council speaker slowly looked back at the hologram of the small human ship. It was still floating silently in space, looking weak and harmless. But now the entire council understood something terrifying. The humans had not come to ask for approval. They had come to show the galaxy something it had never expected. And the demonstration had only just begun. The Galactic Council chamber was no longer calm. Alarm lights flashed across the walls, and technicians rushed between control panels, trying to understand what was happening to their systems. The small human ship still floated quietly near the council station, looking simple and harmless. But the damage it was causing to the council systems was growing every second. Many council members were now whispering nervously to each other. For the first time in centuries, the powerful leaders of the galaxy were unsure of what they were facing. The reptilian warlord suddenly stood up again, anger burning in his glowing eyes. "This is a trick," he growled loudly. "The humans are trying to scare us with some hidden device." Several other warlike species nodded in agreement. They refused to believe that a primitive civilization like Earth could truly threaten the most powerful alliance in the galaxy. The warlord pointed one sharp claw toward the hologram of the human ship. "If the humans believe they can frighten the Galactic Council, they are mistaken," he said proudly. Then he gave a command to one of his officers. "Send a message to my fleet." The officer quickly activated a communication device. Far away in deep space, thousands of warships began receiving the signal. Within minutes, a massive alien armada started moving toward the human home system. Back in the council chamber, the reptilian warlord turned toward the hologram again. "My fleet will arrive at Earth soon," he announced confidently. "Let us see how brave the humans are when they face a real galactic army." Some council members looked uncomfortable, but none of them stopped him. They were curious. They wanted to see if humanity truly had any hidden strength. The human ambassador's voice returned calmly over the communication channel. "Invading Earth would be a mistake," Daniel Reyes warned. The reptilian warlord laughed loudly. "A mistake," he said mockingly. "Your species can barely leave its own planet." Reyes did not sound angry. Instead, his voice carried a quiet confidence. "Humanity has spent centuries preparing for the unknown," he replied. "We hoped the galaxy would greet us with peace, not arrogance." The warlord waved his claw dismissively. "Your warning means nothing," he said. Then the hologram changed again. The council sensors had locked onto the approaching alien armada. Thousands of warships were now entering the outer edge of the human solar system. The fleet was enormous, stretching across space like a dark cloud of metal and weapons. Planet destroyers, heavy cruisers, attack carriers, and countless fighter ships moved together in perfect formation. Many council members watched the display with confidence. No young civilization could possibly survive such an attack. But as the fleet moved closer to Earth, something strange began happening. Navigation systems inside the alien ships suddenly started malfunctioning. Ships drifted slightly off course. Weapons targeting systems began reporting strange errors. Communication signals became filled with static. Inside the alien flagship, the fleet commander frowned at the growing number of warnings appearing on his control screen. "Report," he ordered sharply. One officer turned toward him nervously. "Sir, our navigation systems are experiencing interference," the officer said. The commander growled impatiently. "Correct the problem immediately." But the warnings continued increasing. Engines lost small amounts of power. Sensors began displaying ghost signals across the system. Then something even stranger appeared on the scanners. Hundreds of small objects were suddenly detected around the solar system. They were hidden near asteroids, planets, and even drifting silently in open space. The commander leaned closer to the display, confusion growing on his face. "What are those objects?" he asked. The scanning officer stared at the readings in disbelief. "They appear to be satellites," the officer answered slowly. "Human satellites." The commander frowned, still not understanding the danger. "Primitive defense machines," he said dismissively. But then the satellites began activating one by one. Across the entire solar system, thousands of hidden human defense systems powered on at the same time. Energy signals filled the scanners. Strange fields of invisible force spread silently through space. Back in the Galactic Council chamber, the alien leaders watched the display in growing shock. The human ambassador spoke again, his voice calm and steady. "Welcome to the Human Defense Network," Reyes said quietly. And at that moment the alien fleet realized something terrifying. They had not entered an empty solar system. They had just flown directly into a trap. The alien armada slowed as warning signals filled every control screen. Thousands of warships floated inside the human solar system, but their perfect formation was beginning to break. Navigation systems continued failing one by one. Weapons refused to lock onto targets. Communication signals became weak and distorted. Inside the alien flagship, the fleet commander stared at the sensor display with growing anger. "Restore the systems immediately," he ordered loudly. His officers worked quickly, pressing controls and running emergency checks. But nothing seemed to work. One officer finally spoke with fear in his voice. "Commander, the interference is coming from everywhere," he said. The commander frowned. "What do you mean everywhere?" The officer pointed to the large screen in front of them. Hundreds of small objects were now visible across the solar system. Thousands more appeared every second. Hidden satellites, small stations, and quiet machines that had been sleeping for years were now waking up. They surrounded the alien fleet from every direction. Back in the Galactic Council chamber, the alien leaders watched the battle through a live hologram. No one was laughing anymore. The council technicians were also studying the strange human defense network. Their scanners could not fully understand the technology. The machines were simple in design, but they worked together like a single living system. Every satellite shared information with thousands of others. Every machine adjusted its position and energy output in perfect coordination. The human ambassador, Daniel Reyes, spoke again calmly through the Council communication channel. "For a long time humanity believed we were alone in the universe," he said. "So we prepared for every possible threat." In the alien flagship, the commander suddenly received another warning message. "Commander, more ships detected," an officer shouted. The commander looked at the screen, expecting to see a powerful human fleet. Instead, he saw something surprising. A group of human ships slowly appeared near Earth. They looked very similar to the earlier vessel near the Council station. Simple metal hulls, small engines, and no visible heavy weapons. Some alien officers even laughed quietly at the sight. "Those are their warships?" one officer asked with disbelief. The commander studied the ships carefully. "They look weak," he said slowly. But before anyone could relax, the human ships suddenly moved. Their speed increased faster than the alien scanners could track. Within seconds, the small fleet spread across the battlefield. Each ship moved in a different direction, surrounding parts of the alien armada. Then the satellites activated again. Invisible waves of energy passed through the alien fleet. Weapons shut down completely. Engines lost power. Shields flickered and disappeared. One by one, massive alien warships began drifting helplessly through space. The alien commander stared at the screen in disbelief. The human ships were not destroying the fleet. They were disabling it. Every attack from the alien armada was quickly studied by human systems. Then the defense network adapted instantly, blocking the next attack before it could even fire. Artificial intelligence inside the human machines was learning from every move, improving every second. Across the battlefield, thousands of powerful alien warships were slowly becoming powerless metal giants. Back in the council chamber, silence filled the enormous room. The leaders of the galaxy were witnessing something they had never imagined. A young civilization with simple-looking machines was defeating one of the strongest fleets in the galaxy, without destroying a single ship. The council speaker slowly stood up from his seat, his silver eyes fixed on the hologram. For the first time in many centuries, the ancient leader looked uncertain. And quietly he said the words that no council member had ever expected to hear. "We may have misunderstood the humans." Across the human solar system, the battle was already over. Thousands of alien warships floated silently in space, their engines powerless and their weapons completely disabled. The once proud armada now looked like a field of helpless metal giants drifting slowly through the darkness. Inside the alien flagship, the fleet commander stood frozen in front of his control screen. Warning messages covered every system. Navigation offline. Weapons offline. Shields offline. Nothing was working anymore. His officers looked at him with fear and confusion. "Commander," one of them said quietly, "our fleet can no longer fight." The commander clenched his claws tightly, anger slowly turning into realization. For the first time since the invasion began, he understood the truth. Humanity had never been weak. They had simply been waiting. Back in the Galactic Council chamber, the alien leaders watched the final moments of the battle through the giant hologram. No one spoke. The same chamber that had been full of laughter earlier was now silent and heavy with tension. The council technicians confirmed what everyone could already see. The entire invasion fleet had been completely neutralized, and the humans had not destroyed a single ship. Finally, the council speaker slowly stood up from his seat. His voice was calm, but it carried a new respect that had not been there before. "Open communication with Earth," he ordered. A signal was sent across the stars toward the human command network. After a few seconds, the familiar calm voice of Ambassador Daniel Reyes filled the chamber again. "This is Ambassador Reyes speaking." The council speaker paused for a moment before answering. "Human ambassador," he said carefully, "the council requests that your forces stand down." Reyes responded without hesitation. "Our forces are already standing down," he said calmly. "The alien fleet is no longer a threat." The reptilian warlord who had ordered the invasion was no longer proud or confident. He sat silently in his seat, staring at the hologram of his defeated fleet. The council speaker continued speaking slowly, choosing his words carefully. Humanity has demonstrated remarkable technological capability, he admitted. Perhaps our earlier judgment of your civilization was incorrect. A quiet murmur spread across the chamber. For the first time in the history of the Galactic Council, the leaders of the galaxy were admitting a mistake. Reyes spoke again, his tone calm but firm. Humanity never asked for conflict, he said. For more than a century we prepared for the unknown, because we did not know if the galaxy would greet us as friends or enemies. The council members listened carefully. We hoped for peace, Reyes continued, but we also prepared to defend our home. The council speaker lowered his head slightly, a rare sign of respect among his species. On behalf of the Galactic Council, he said slowly, we offer a formal apology to humanity. The chamber became silent again. Reyes waited for a moment before answering. Humanity accepts your apology, he said. But respect must exist between all civilizations. The council speaker nodded. From this day forward, Earth will be recognized as a full member of the galactic community, he announced. And humanity will hold a permanent seat within the Galactic Council. Across the chamber, the alien leaders understood something that none of them had realized before. The young civilization they had mocked only hours earlier had just changed the balance of power in the galaxy. Humanity had defeated a massive invasion fleet without destroying it. Not through brute force, but through intelligence, patience, and preparation. The council speaker looked one final time at the hologram of the small human ship near their station. It still looked simple and outdated. But now every alien in the chamber saw it differently. Because they finally understood the truth. Humans were never the weakest species in the galaxy. They were simply the last ones the galaxy learned to fear.